Hello, everyone. Hello, 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 hello. Welcome to Breaking Through Conversation. Welcome, welcome. There are realities in life that never show up on a resume. They are not always visible when someone walks into. Hello, everyone. Hello, 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 hello. Welcome to. They are not always visible. There are realities in life that never show up on a resume. They are not always visible when someone walks into work looking composed and capable. Today, we are talking about one of those realities, the intersection of career, culture, caregiving, autism, advocacy, and what many professionals carry quietly. Welcome to today's Breaking Through Conversation. Thank you so much for joining us. Our topic today is an immigrant mother's journey, balancing work, advocacy, autism, and many more. My name is Marian Amoa, and thank you so much for joining once again on this channel. All of us, we share lessons, stories, and conversations to help immigrant professionals grow, lead, and thrive in the American workplace and in life. I am so honored to be joined today by Dr. Genevieve Kumapley. She's a pharmacist, a wife and mother of three, an advocate, and the founder of My Goal and Haven International. Her work spans both the United States and Ghana in West Africa and other countries like Liberia, also in West Africa, where she has been involved in advocacy, education, and support for children and families impacted by autism. She's also connected to the work of building educational spaces and support systems for children and families who are often misunderstood, underserved, or and overlooked. Today, she joins us not only as a professional, but as a mother, advocate, wife, leader, and someone whose personal journey became a larger mission. Dr. Genevieve, thank you so much for being here. Let me just quickly say that Dr. Genevieve was connected. I got connected to her through my friend Belinda, Dr. Tojo, who joined us last month. So before we begin, would you mind sharing one fun fact about yourself and also adding anything I missed from your introduction?
All right. Thank you so much, Ms. Marian, for having me here. I am so honored indeed. For those who watched last month, Belinda, I said that's my big small sister. I'm 2 weeks older than her, but when people see her, they're like, so thank you so much for allowing me to be in this space. One fun fact. Well, one fun fact is people call me, you see the Dr. G there, they call me the G Force. The G Force is because my maiden name, my maiden name is Forson, but when you meet me, I can be a little bit like, you gotta go. Let's do it. Let's do it now. Like, who has time to waste? So some people call me G-Force. I'm just gonna put it out in a space. So when you meet me in certain spaces, you hear people use all kind of names, and then they call me a woman with many hats. Another fun fact that I don't think was mentioned in the bio, and I'm just thinking about it in the Holy Spirit. I'm a woman of faith. I'm also an associate pastor in my church.
Mm.
Um, so depending on whatever God has in store, I wear that hat. So that'll be a fun fact.
Very good. The G-force. Well, we'll talk about that later. Thank you. Once again, you are very welcome to our Breaking Through community. We also call it our Breaking Through conversation. Now, you came to the United States at a very young age, quite a young age, yeah? Take us back to that moment. What do you remember most about that transition, and how has that shaped how you are becoming, or you were becoming, but you are becoming, you're still becoming?
Awesome. So thank you for that question. I came here when I was 14.
Mm.
This is okay, I'll age myself a little bit. I don't mind. I came here in 1987. I had just completed 1 year of secondary school. So
Mm.
I went to St. Mary's Secondary School for a year. I got to tell you, Miss Marian, I was mad that I left before I could also now have the next generation of people. You know, the first year when you are first year, serving other people kind of thing. So you finish that. And I was blessed because my dad had migrated to the United States for several years, and he had always wanted to be able to bring me along and bring here. I was the first daughter now out of six children. So once he got the green card, it was August. The person who was going to bring me is actually Belinda's whose stepdad who had gone on to be with the Lord. So he was coming back from Ghana. So they had a ticket for me, but I was on standby. And when we got to getting on the plane, come to find out they had upgraded my ticket to first class. So picture this, a 14-year-old, never flown before, gets into a first class ticket. I don't even
Wow.
remember the last time, transcontinental, mind you, right? So that is like how I came to America. Like God knows how to just like elevate you and bring you all the way. So I'm coming all bushy-eyed, like they're serving you. They keep asking you, what else would you like to eat? What else would you like to eat? Drinks, all that stuff. I'm like, I guess this is really America. You know, when people are like, America is like that, what I didn't
Mhm.
realize is that this is not standard. Not everybody comes to America like that. But that was me. So that was the journey. And then you know how you go from the mountaintop to the valley? You know, they
Mm,
always tell you about the mountaintop experience. And usually by the time you come from there, be weary. We talked about how Jesus was baptized. He came out of the water. As soon as that happened, he was sent into the wilderness.
that's right.
That would be my story because I got here and it's out there fact that my stepmom at the time, who my dad had been married to for several years, really did not want me here. So just when I was coming, she put him out. So he had to leave. So I came to the US on a plane, get down, and not really have a place to live.
Mm.
I ended up living with some neighbors until my dad was able to be settled. But it was quite traumatic, right? Because you go from secured environment, loved, cared for, you're excited to come to be with your father, and now you come and you really don't, you feel displaced. You don't have that. So you came from that high to a very low. But I bless God because that's how I actually met Belinda because the home that we moved into, the apartment in Chicago, I grew up in Chicago. It was high rise. For those who may know 810 West Grace, that was like one of those. You mentioned 810 West Grace, everybody knows exactly where that place was. That was where we were. And yeah, so that's how we got started. And that was a life-changing because I don't ever want anybody to ever go through that experience of being a teenage girl and not feeling like you have a place that you belong. So that has an impact, but look at God.
So from first class entering the country and now no place to lay your head. My goodness. That could have marred somebody for life.
Mm,
But I'm glad there was community to support
yes,
you.
yes, absolutely.
Great. And I trust your dad is doing well now.
My dad is amazing. God just he was just joyful that that could be a door. And anytime I go back home to Chicago, I live in Jersey now, New Jersey, I'm always thankful for that door because I am where I am today, have the opportunities that I have today because of the fact that there's a door that opened for me to come to the United States.
Okay. And did that so that moment, you've come, but finally you got somewhere to lay your head,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
somebody.
yeah.
Did that affect your resilience, identity, belonging? How did that shape you? Just talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I mean, for all immigrants, you know that when you come here, they say your accent is thick.
Hmm.
It was August, it was right before school year was starting. It was a transition period, so then I had to start high school here. So I had finished secondary school, high school, the timing of that. because I came in when usually placement, they would do a placement test from eighth grade to high school typically, so they know what grade they will put you for math. I mean, what class level they'll put you for math, for English. They didn't do that with me. So the school that I went to presumed that because I was African, that I didn't really know anything. So they put me at a level where they call remedial classes. So you had remedial level, you had basic level, you have regular classes, and you have honors classes, right? So my first year in that high school, I was in the remedial, where you're really going back to kind of elementary level kind of classes. And today I don't remember teacher's name much, but the only teacher I remember was Mrs. Misher. She was my English teacher. And in that class, you realize like this girl is smarter than where they've placed her. But that was that. So I always, it's almost, I tell my children now that 4 years of that high school and the fact of that door was not open for me correctly that definitely impacted how I transition out because by the time the first year finished, they realized that they put me in the wrong class. And now they had to now jump me from basic to regular. But then I was already behind, right? So not being able to graduate with honor society and all those things really marred me. I really made it a point that if I got to college, I was going to graduate. So I'm one of those people that from a resiliency question standpoint, one of those people that if you deny me something, I want to go out and prove to you that no, I deserve to be here. And I'm going to work twice as hard, three times as hard to get to that place. And I just know that that's how God had fashioned me and created me. And now, I'm in my 50s and I realize, wow, 14, at the age of 14, that experience has transformed my thinking, my walking. So when life slaps you, you're like, okay, I didn't like that slap, but I'm gonna get up
Yeah.
and keep
Just
going.
reminding me of when, as they say, when life gives you lemons, you can make lemon juice, lemonade,
Lemon pie.
lemon pie. Yeah. But thank you for sharing that. So I'm just, this is just a moment that reminds me of what happens to immigrants when they come here to America or go to any other, it could be vice versa, right? Any other place. The loss, there is loss. So here is your mom is not here, not dead, but the loss of losing family, immediate family, the loss of your social networks, your connections. And then you come here and some of the things you're facing now is accent, being as a young child, being misplaced in the wrong class because people don't know, they don't understand. So I'm glad that you were able to bounce back, see the challenges as, a challenge for you to move forward. Okay. Now, thinking about your younger self, let's think of when you were younger, before life became more complex, what did you imagine your future would look like? I know that you're now, so I'm now seeing you, okay, you're in high school, you've been put in a remedial class, they're now trying to jump start you and fix things. But what did you think your future would look like? Did you see yourself in healthcare, advocacy, or leadership, or, did that unfold over time?
That unfolded over time. I think I'm one of those people that I say reflect on my younger self. If I land in an opportunity, I look to see how I can use that opportunity. I didn't know Bible then, and once I come to know the scripture, I take advantage of every opportunity, opportune time. One thing I didn't know for a fact is that I always wanted to bring value to people. I wanted to make sure that if I got married, that I was not dependent on a husband. That part, and that was because I saw the interaction between my mother and my stepfather at the time. He ended up marrying a second wife, blah, blah, and all those type of things that happens. So my commitment to myself was I'm going to school, I'm going to push, I'm going to study hard, whatever I can to make sure that no matter where I find myself, I can bring something to the table, and because, two are better than one, because for that. But of course, I didn't know scripture to know that that's what really God's intent is, right? But that's how I leveraged it. So anytime doors opened, I ran. I don't walk it. I run it. There was a door. I'll tell this story because my younger self, what really made an impact was a program called Upward Bound Program. We were chit-chatting about that. And the Upward Bound Program, and I highlight that because for immigrants in communities, sometimes you come here and we have to live in certain environments, right? It's not ideal. Some poor folks come in living in very, very nice areas in Ghana, wherever areas they come in and they're in the inner city, right? One of the key things that changed the trajectory for me was connecting to a program like that Upward program, where basically they introduce the kids, they support them to get to college. For me, that was a huge door. My dad found out about it. And then they used to take us on college tours. So we went to some of these schools. And so that's how my eyes saw
Mm.
there's life beyond our building that we live in.
Yes, 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 yes.
You know, so that's how I knew, wait, there's life beyond just where we are and what we do. So I'm so grateful because it used to be a Saturday program. I started like when I was sophomore year in high school. 10th grade, 10th, 11, you sign me up. That's what I'm saying. When you tell me there's something for free, I'm there. Like, even if it doesn't apply, I want to sign up anyway. And that's how I got access to go to University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. So for somebody who's U of I Urbana-Champaign was one of the top programs in Chicago, in Illinois. It's a Big Ten school.
Mhm.
And so because of that program, I was able to fast track. So where the devil meant for evil,
Mhm. That's
God
right.
will turn it around for good.
That's
So
right. That's
I
right.
want to say that to someone listening. Don't look at where your current situation is.
Mm.
Look at what doors are maybe around you, and make sure that you stand at the door and knock.
Oh.
Even somebody says don't knock, you're like, I'm gonna be here anyway. Eventually, like the woman who begged he said to Jesus, can I have what the children's bread is? And she said, I won't give you the children's bread. It's because, it's almost like it's for the dogs. It's like even the dogs have to eat.
Mm.
Right?
Mm.
So for me, it's like it's not about where you started, how long it takes. It's the fact that you want to be present and be there. So that's my younger self having access. And that's how I landed, thankfully, to where I am now.
Okay, so you are dropping some serious nuggets. Anytime doors open, I will make it singular. Anytime a door opens, I run. I like that. And there is life beyond our building, right? Open your eyes, right? Seek opportunities. Even when they say don't knock, knock if you have to. Okay. If you're just joining us, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. Please put something in the chat. And if you please put something in the chat, let us know where you're joining us from. And if you're watching the replay, please let us also know where you're joining from. I have with me today Dr. G Force, Dr. Genevieve or G Force, Pastor G, who is sharing with us her journey as an immigrant mother dealing with autism, well, in the space of advocacy and providing all kinds of support for those who are in that situation. So thank you again, Dr. Genevieve, for joining us. Now let's go to the turning point. And I hope we are live. Please put something in the chat so that I know that we are live here. You can see us. And if you have a question, also put it in the chat for Dr. Genevieve to answer. We will take some questions as we go along. Okay. Now, so I hear Upward Bound and shout out to Upward Bound. I don't know whether the program is still.
Yeah, it still exists. That's why I'm mentioning it because what happens is that the big universe, well, we're in a different era right now. So let me clarify, let me state that. So it's a lot of it is the EOP programs, right? So this is for a lot of the times the big universities will partner in the inner cities to try to get the kids, the students to begin to think about college.
Mhm.
And what they do is that they will offer it an opportunity for the students to come on campus, attend college classes, get a sense of that. So, what I tell parents these days, and I know you and I talked about being in a moment. I tell parents right now that leverage the community, even leverage the community colleges. Take your child there. start to walk the campus, let them see life beyond like the environment. I believe in get in a car and drive beyond your neighborhood, and drive there thinking like you belong there. You don't, you may not live there right now, but imagine that you live there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that's why I wanted to mention that because I think it's crucial that people know that so these are tools that are available to us. And unless you ask, you don't know it's there.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So, still, at what point did you see yourself? Was it during the Outward Bound sessions that you saw yourself in the healthcare industry?
So
Or,
I've always, great question. I've always loved science, right? I love science. I was good at it. In my environment, there's only two type of professions at a time. You become a nurse or a doctor if you're in science, right? And I just knew that I was like, oh, I don't like blood, so I don't want to be drawing blood. I'm not one of those. And then at the time in my head, if you're going to do medicine, it takes too long. So I was kind of a little bit in a quandary. So though at our high school, they had a career day, and they had a pharmacist who was there, and I met the man. And he's like, this is 30, 40 years back. And he's like, oh, 30 years. And he's like, oh, yeah, I make about 100K. And at the time, that's like a lot of money. And I was
oh
like, "And
yeah,
what do you do? What?" And
and
it's
it's
still,
still a
yeah,
lot of money.
absolutely. But comparably, I'm talking about 30 years
Yes,
ago.
yes.
So you're anticipating that like at least, but now so it should be at least 300,000 or more, right? So that's because he owned his own shop.
Mm,
And he was telling me you gotta like chemistry, you gotta like biology. I was like, I love all those things. And that's all I heard because I was like, oh, science, you make money, let's do it.
mm,
I had no idea how great this profession is.
mm,
It is so good as a woman. Oh my gosh, because it allows you to do more. And so once I entered in that journey and you meet people and you connect to other people, it just became so I just think for me, my life had been ordered, the steps of the righteous is ordered of the Lord.
mm,
And for me, God had ordered my steps. Like I said, when I shared the first class story, I don't think some people who know me probably never knew I came to America on a first class ticket. But I look back now and I'm like, that is what God does.
mm.
So even when we're in the valleys, we now look back and it's like, God was with me the whole time. So that's how I became a pharmacist. I was like, okay, I'll become that. But the key thing is, I always knew that I wanted to be the best. Whatever the highest degree was, I'm like, I want that. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but that's what I want. So I now know that when you take delight in the Lord, He gives you the desires of your heart.
Mm.
And the desire is to excellence. There was no question. Like, that's what I want to be, and I want to be the best there is. So that's how I ended up applying to, yeah, I went to U of I because I wanted to get away from home. It's like, okay, let me get away 2 hours, 2.5 hours. And I ended up back in Chicago anyway because the pharmacy school was in Chicago. So that's how I landed on that journey.
Wow. Just a conversation with one person changed the whole, or helped you to go on this path. Mentors out there, I hope you're hearing that and a shout out to you. Okay, Dr. G Force, there's usually a moment when life shifts. We
Mm,
all go through life shifts. Tell us about some of the shifts when things began to
mm,
change for you and when autism,
mm.
and maybe there were shifts before even the autism, but when autism became part of your journey as a human being, as a mother, as a wife.
Great question. So, people see me very bubbly. Like you said, you walk in, you're probably like, okay, what's her story? My story is that being the type of person that I just shared, I want excellence. I have that. One thing that's notable is I always had plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D. And I've always mapped out this is where I want to be by the time I'm 30. For those of us who do that, you feel like the world has ended because you didn't check the box, right?
Mhm.
I got married early. I met my husband when I was 21. I was just finishing my pre-pharmacy. This is a very important part of the story. And when I went to pharmacy school 2 years later, he proposed. I got married by the time I was, 25, 20, yeah, 24. And I look back and I'm thank God for early. But it changed the trajectory because in the pharmacy school years, I determined that I wanted to go extra mile of having almost like a practice where you see patients because when you're in pharmacy school, part of your training years, you do the didactic, all the labs, all those things, and then you get into the taking care of patient part of it. And I came to love that aspect. Came to love the fact that I meet people at the point where they have to make decisions about what medicine they're going to take and why should they take it. And more than that, I also came to find out that I actually enjoy talking to people about their meds. I also enjoy teaching students. I like there's so many parts of my personality that was able to come out. So my goal was really to go beyond just once I graduated and do a residency. So that's a postgraduate year one and then postgraduate year two. And I wanted to do it in infectious disease. At the time was at the height when HIV was prevalent. We didn't have a lot of treatments for it. I had a family member that had HIV, so for that reason, I wanted to get into that. So I applied to a very competitive program. I mean, it was super competitive. You flew all over the place. For those people who do medicine, same thing. Residency is extremely competitive, and I matched one of my preferred programs in Florida. So it meant finishing pharmacy school, just got married. I went to Ghana to get married, my husband and I, right before 6 months before I graduated. And a month before I was supposed to start my program in Florida, I found out I was expecting with my daughter. And when you talk about life shift, that's where we have to we have to recognize that man plans and God laughs.
Mm.
I thought I had it all figured out. I was going to do it my way. I was going to go to Florida. We're going to have this lifestyle. But my husband couldn't find a job in Florida. He's an engineer, but he found a dream job in New Jersey.
Wow.
So what do we do? I could pursue what I've worked so hard for. Competitive. Talk about competitive. Graduated with honors. But then all of a sudden, I had to prioritize what's more important. One of the most important thing I would say to somebody listening to me is, and that's what I had to wrestle with. I cried. I was mad. I was upset. But I came to recognition that having family was more important than having a career. And I decided at that time that I will go along with my husband. He can do his dream job. We will start a life together. And I left everything, friends, family, caboodle, and came to New Jersey. Didn't know anybody. And we came to live in an apartment. He was going to work. I was pregnant, didn't have a job. All my friends are like, where the heck are you? Because they knew. But as God will have it, I said, I'm not going to sit at home and cry. I'm going to start volunteering. So I started volunteering, not getting paid. Now, mind you, finish college, you're ready to kind of get that six figure, drive the nice cars. That was not my story. So for a year, I sat home and I'll go to Newark Beth Israel Hospital at the Poison Control Center, volunteering. And those things are resume builders, by the way, because what it showed a future employer is that this woman is not lazy. This woman will leverage every opportunity to learn and grow. And the turning point, so the first turning point in that shift was a decision to prioritize family over career. The second point, take home point from this story, is that God honored that choice by enabling me to, when I was getting ready to not go back to work, I had to take my exams, get my license. I just got my license in Illinois actually at the time because we were going to stay in Chicago when I was expecting. But then I ended up coming to Jersey. I had to start it all over again. And just when I said I'll do whatever job. I don't care at that point. I am here to raise my family. If I need to work overnight, whatever it is, I would do it. I said that to the Lord, and He said, because you've honored me in your choice, He allowed me to have dinner. My mentors, Mentors, they're so
Men.
important.
Mm,
Honor people who walk with you.
mm,
When I was in pharmacy school, I was working with one of my mentors. She was doing research, and I was like, I'll work with you. I'll do whatever you need me to do. She came to town for a conference, met up with me, and that conversation changed the trajectory of my life. She called me the next day and said, there's a woman who was the director of the Cancer Institute of New Jersey. It's an NCI, National Cancer Institute designated cancer center, and they were looking for a pharmacist. And it was an 8 to 5, no weekends. For the pharmacist out there, that is not normal. No residency training, no knowledge in oncology, cancer. And God just opened that door. And when I went for the interview, it was not an interview. It was like, when are you gonna get started? And I'm like, I don't even know what they're talking about. I had to learn from scratch. Now, the pharmacy school, they taught us a little bit. I had 2 lectures on oncology. Mind you, I was gonna go into infectious disease. That's where I was going. But oncology, now if you talk research, now you know oncology research is huge. Fast forward, I will tell this part of the big story and then we'll transition to other pivots. I gave up my residency. 5 years ago, I became a director of a pharmacy residency program. Go figure. The thing I gave up, I became a director recruiting for it. Today, I'm a director of I'm a director of investigational drug service for a global research company doing cancer research. Well, there's God, and He's faithful. And Ms. Marian, I have been working the whole time. I am doing what I do today because He gives grace. And the thing you drop or you think you have to drop, He would do better. So, was the struggle real? Oh, I wrestle. You know, the Bible said Jacob wrestled and he said, I won't let go until you bless me. That was me. But I had to let go of my need to be in control.
mm.
And so that first shift was a shift to prioritize my family,
Mm,
raise my family.
mm.
And God enabled that career as a pharmacist to still thrive and still grow. So that was the first shift.
That was major. That was major.
Yeah,
Wow. And in it were the volunteering, right? Leveraging, then mentoring, the importance of having a mentor in your life, prioritizing family over career. Thanks for sharing that. So that was the first major, I mean, you found other shifts, but that was major.
that
What
was
other
major.
shifts you want to talk about?
The other shift, and obviously, so for if you're watching me, the background says my goal. This is the hat that I wear passionately. So I have 3 amazing, wonderful children. Um, the older one is 27. She was the reason I moved to Jersey. Nicholas is a passion and purpose. And then Delali is my bonus because I wrestled with God that I only wanted 2 kids. And he's like, oh, yeah? Well, okay, yeah, all right. So the third one is a blessing. When do Nicholas was born? So he was born in 2001.
So Nicholas is your second child. You've had the first child, yeah? Okay.
Yes, Nicholas is the
Mhm.
first second child, 2001. 2001 was a pivotal year. We all know 9/11.
Yes.
My husband was a 9/11 survivor. His story, he tells a better story than I do, but it tells you that our journey has been one where God has just been faithful. Nicholas was 3 months when that happened. So fast forward, he was typically developing. And around 15 months, 12 months, celebrated his birthday, speaking language, the whole 9 yards. And then 15 months or 18 months is when we started to see the light turned off. It's important I say this to families, somebody listening. If you have a child, and they stop developing, they're regressing. Because people told me, oh, it happens. It was huge. It was major regression.
Say that again. Say that again, because for those who are not here and those who be listening, please
If you
underscore
have a
that point.
child, they're typically developing, they're meeting their milestones. All of a sudden, there's a pause.
Mm.
There is regression, meaning that they are losing skills that they should have. Or you're seeing them lagging behind. They started off okay, but now they're not meeting the milestones. It's very important. I also want to say, do not depend on the doctors alone to
Mm,
tell you what those milestones
mm,
are.
mm, mm,
Our job, that's why I talked about the importance of family and prioritizing your role. I say to people for eternity, your role as a parent is what God counts. It's not your role as the professional, it's your role as the person who gave birth to a life. Your role as the one God has given you to mentor, to lead. So, for spiritual mothers out there, for the aunties out there, we have a huge responsibility to make sure that that child that has been birthed onto this side of eternity meets the milestones that God has ordained for them. I missed that part, and that's why I'm saying it and I'm emphasizing it so that I switch into bubbly self to like, let me tell you something. We're not gonna take no for an answer. And the reason why I say that is last night we were in church praying and we were praying about stopping this madness of autism diagnosis. In 2008, when I started this organization called My Goal, the statistics was 1 in 166 individuals, 1 out of 166 individuals were diagnosed with autism. So that means that you have 166 individuals in a home, in a
yes.
room, one person will
Yes.
have that label, just a label. It doesn't mean that that's who they are in Christ. Today, depending on whose statistics you're looking at, is 1 in 32.
Oh my
That
goodness.
means 166 people are in a room. You're almost going to have 5 people in that room that have that label. That is absolutely ridiculous. That is absolutely not acceptable. That is absolutely not okay. And what is happening is we don't have a full revelation, but we do know this. And this is where the pastor hat will come in for a minute because I know that I'm talking to people of faith and I know I'm talking to somebody who's hearing me say, wait a minute, your story is going to sound like mine. Wake up. Wake up. Do something about it. Do not ignore the fact that God is giving you the gift of being a mother. And who God has called, He will equip, and He has qualified you to be a mother. He's qualified you to be a father. He's qualified you to be an aunt. So I missed it for a minute because he was diagnosed in 2003. He was 2 years old. I got the diagnosis because there was regression. He was no longer speaking. No eye contact. He was tippy-toeing. He was walking tiptoes on his tippy toes. He was flapping his hands. You take a picture, his eyes is looking somewhere else. You put him in a room with other children, he was not playing with the other children. He was lining up the toys. He was only stuck on CNN. That's all he would watch. So what I'm saying to you is if you're seeing that they're not engaging, that's one of the issues. That's one of the diagnosis key marks, hallmarks of autism, is that there's no socialization, appropriate socialization. There's no curiosity beyond the one toy. There's no curiosity beyond anything else. That's something to watch out for. There's behaviors, tantruming. They're screaming. There are certain things, they are startled. There are certain noises that bothers the heck out of them. For the fact that they can't walk on their toes, it's a neurological disorder. So what I call it is it's a neuro developmental because the developmental issues. It's neurological based because there's some sensory issues going on with them. And it is also an immunological. There's a lot going on in the immune system. You know that the stomach is where your immune system is. A lot of them end up having physiological issues. So this is where the hallmark for me of knowing science, knowing medicine, understanding that sickness, sickness is of the devil. It's not for anybody. Whether it's diabetes, hypertension, seizures, epilepsy, whatever you know, asthma, autism, it is come from someone. So the point here is if the child is having tantrums, they're screaming, things are going on with them behavioral. That's something to note, right? And then they have communication issues. So what we always say the hallmark is behavioral, socialization, and communication. The communication is they're not talking. The communication is that they repeat what you say, echolaic. You say something, how are you? They'll say, how are you? You say, where are you going? They'll repeat, where are you going? They're not communicating appropriately. So psychologically, that's what they say. But what I'm saying to you also is pay close attention. What are they eating? How is your sleep? What's going on in the gut, the GI tract? So, Miss Marian, that's what I came to discover between the age of 3 years old and 5 years old, that I was in this space where I just like, oh, I just need to maybe go to early intervention, which is very important. I got the formal label of diagnosis of autism so I can connect to resources. So I want to say to somebody here, we don't want labels for our children. Unfortunately, the labels opens the door. If you don't have a formal diagnosis of autism, you cannot leverage all the resources that you need to to lose the label. So hear me out. When Jesus healed, somebody needs to hear this. Sometimes he would take the mud and place it on the eye. Sometimes he would say, go. And in the process of going, they're healed. He will use different tools to bring it together. For my journey, my walk, 22 years of walking a journey where Nicholas needs support all the time. That is huge. And I'm telling somebody out there, I don't want you to live in shame because your child is 10 years old and wearing a diaper. Miss Marian, Nicholas was 8 when he was able to fully be potty trained. Can that compute for somebody? We were buying diapers. There's somebody out there who's hearing what I'm saying, and this is your story. You're ashamed because you don't want to tell your family that this is your day to day. You're ashamed that you don't want to bring your child to that party because when they get there, the noise level, they stick their hands in their ear. The light in the room, the fluorescent light bothers them. They're overwhelmed. You can't sleep at night because the child is screaming in pain. That's somebody's story. And for some family members out there, you have shunned them. And you do parties and you don't invite them. We go places. We used to travel for vacations and we don't fly. We're always looking for the exit before we get in the car. You have your emergency bag in the trunk because he may soil the clothes. This is your reality. So I'm telling families out there, if you're listening to me, that brought 1 in 32, that means you know somebody. They don't come around because they're trying to figure it out. I go to graduation for the older one and the younger one, and I'm asking myself, why is Nicholas not having a graduation like this one? Your life journey changes. Resiliency becomes your middle name because you're like, I got to pivot.
Mm.
I have to switch gears. And let me tell you about my children, the older one and the younger one, they've learned to pivot. Oh, we're getting ready to go out. We can't go out that way. We can't go through that door. We're going to have to go grocery shopping early when there's nobody in the store because we don't know what's going to happen when they get through that door. That is, that's autism. I wanted people to understand that the gateway to overcoming autism, and that's why the existence of the organization is to dispel the myths that you did something wrong. You didn't do anything wrong. And for that husband who's ready to walk out at the door, please don't. Miss Marian, I started my goal, which is the organization that I lead, because I found out that 4 out of 5 families break up because the stress is too much. We have too many single moms out there who are handling it. And I want to salute the dads that have stayed.
mm, mm,
4 out of 5 families, there's no dad in the home. They're living in separate homes.
mm, mm,
This is what the reality is for some people.
mm.
That is how I started to pivot. And I know I've gone off the rails in answering,
No,
but
no, 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 no.
every time I get into this piece of the story, this is why I said I was sharing with you. I didn't choose this journey. God chose me. In 2007, I had this desire to know the Lord more. I said, God, what's my purpose? I'm a pharmacist. I love what I do. I counsel cancer patients who are finding their lowest point. And I always tell people, I mean, I talk about 2 things that nobody will ever want to talk about: cancer and autism. And those 2 things, when they hit you, your life changes. You get a diagnosis of cancer, you're going to have to change how you live. You no longer want to live the same way. You get a diagnosis of autism, you're like, what happens? But you know what I've discovered? It is God, every person is so precious. And there are people who have what it looks like a perfect life and they're not happy. But one thing that's for sure I've learned is that God chose me for this assignment, and Nicholas was chosen. And what the enemy wanted for evil, God has turned it around because of him. My organization has been around. We started it in 2008 because here's the story, here's the pivot. I started asking God, why, what? Not the why me? No, no, not that story. God, what do you want me to do? What is my life for? What is my purpose? Excuse me. What's my purpose? What's my assignment? And he said, that you will go and bear fruit, much fruit. John 15, verse 16. And at that time, I said, God, I want to know you more. And I was like, maybe I should go to Bible school. I wasn't a pastor then. Maybe I should go to Bible school. Maybe I should do something. And it wasn't about Bible school. But I met a woman at church, and I used to be a youth leader for a church, children's youth church. And she said, "Go, I'm going to Bible school." I'm like, "Take me with you." And the school was called History Makers. I think Holy Spirit called, I call him Jehovah Sneaky. He, I got into this program, and they said, your purpose is tied to 2 things. For somebody listening to me, it's tied to your pain. It's tied to your pain, or it's tied to your passion. What do you care about? So for me, pain is autism. Pain is seeing the fact that people were judging, people were not correcting, people were not there, people did not check in, they were telling me what I should be doing for my family. That that was irritation. And I told God, I'm going to use my pain out there and talk to everybody about my pain. And that's how my goal started. And I started it as a nonprofit. And my voice was, I'm going to use my voice in a way to change lives. And for 18 years, May 6th, 2008, I started this organization. We exist to support families facing autism and other intellectual disabilities throughout their lifespan. And that's really how this organization got started. And I'll say, how dare we defy the enemy and say, how dare you try to make people feel ashamed of their child? And we exist to create connections. We're like, we're gonna come together as a community. Tomorrow we're doing a spa event for free. It's in New Jersey. Um, to say to the mom, you deserve to be cared for. We give out financial grants because not only are you trying to do everything for your child, sometimes you can't even afford the basics. That is how God took a pain. It's still a pain point because I'm like, Lord, how come other people lose the diagnosis and I'm still like walking this journey? And he said, if I don't let you experience the pain of what some people go through day in and day out, you may not have the level of compassion that's necessary to intercede and care for them. I know I have hijacked the story, but I
No,
just
no,
could
no,
not.
no, no. I am. Oh, that's a pain point, and you've touched on quite a number of things I was going to ask you. Um, because as you were talking, I'm listening. People don't invite you to their parties or events, and this is America.
Yeah,
So I'm wondering how it looks like. You're an
Ghana.
immigrant, I'm an immigrant, how it looks like in Ghana
Ah,
and other parts, if you want to touch on that. But as you think about that, I want you to explain. You've said quite a bit about what autism is, but for a layman, people talk about the spectrum and all that. Can you just explain it for our audience? So think about that. And what I'm going to do is I want to see what the comments are in the
okay.
chat. Um, Belinda says, welcome everyone once again. This is a very important topic. We said at the top of it that people walk into work or church or communities or even the grocery store. You don't know what they are dealing with. Some are dealing with caregiving, culture, autism, so many things. So we all have to be nice. We all have to be kind.
Hmm.
So thank you for joining. I have with me Dr. Genevieve Kumapley, and she's sharing her journey as an immigrant mother, professional wife, friend, auntie, who is an advocate and also raising an autistic child. So let me read some of the comments. Amazing story, Dr. G. Thank you for sharing your story. I think one of our mistakes as immigrants is that we do not share information about helpful programs when we hear about them. We need to lift each other up. Belinda said, that's my girl. Your story is so touching. Wow. Wow, how God works. Amazing story. God is faithful. Yes, sis, you are cutting. Okay, I'm not sure this, maybe you understand. Yes, sis, you are cutting onions now. So I don't really
It's
understand, but
crying. Yeah, the crying moment.
oh, crying moment. Oh, okay, Abba, thank you for teaching me something. I'm learning from you too. And Christians must wake up. For real, we need to wake up. Do not be silent and sweep it
Rug.
under the rug. Watching from Maryland, I think you should come back and throw more light to our African parents, come to terms with and act upon fasts. Early intervention is very important. The label opens the door through talk. Sis, you're doing well. Oh, this is, yeah,
This is it's the heavy stuff, right?
yeah.
Okay, Ghana. Whoo.
And there's a question so that we can put it in the chat.
Yeah.
What is your website?
Okay.
My goal,
Inc. MyGoalInc.org.
mygoalinc.org, mygoalinc.org.
.org.
There's
Yeah.
also a YouTube channel that is My Goal Autism. My Goal Autism. Okay, please carry on.
Yeah, I it's you don't realize how painful this journey has been until you start to talk about it. And when I think about Ghana, I want to cry. I think about because at least here in the US, autism is not a stigma to the point where it's a stigma, but not to the degree that it is in Ghana. I went there in 2011, 2010. I was just laying down. The Lord said, I need you to go to Ghana. And I'm like, go there for what? I had gone there and I was like, I'm not coming back. And particularly, I knew that if I was to go, How would that work? And at the time, my husband was exploring the possibility of moving back and doing work there. So I was like, okay, let me go check it out. I went in 2011 and God set me up because I went to visit a school and I want to give a shout out to ACT, AACT. Auntie said, wow, she was a pioneer in Ghana. She allowed me in her space. And I went there and I'm like, wow, this is it. This is it. And I was like, God, we got to do something about this. And she's one of the few programs at a time. And I'm like, where are the kids? They're home. They're not allowed to go to school. What do those parents do? What? This is not okay. We're here. To whom much is given, much is expected. We're here. I live in South Brunswick. Nicholas could go to school. He has access. What about those who don't? And God was so good because I went to a church retreat and he said, I want you to open a place and call a haven where kids of all abilities can come together and play. And it's in Ghana. How am I going to do that? Just gone back and I talk to people, I talk to everybody. I like to share my story. I don't mind it because I'm like, I have nothing to be ashamed about. And there was an organization that said they were willing to fund me. So my co-founder, Jennifer, she's actually visiting right now. She saw the story, she heard our story and said, I'll help. And that's how we got started. And the stigma is still there. We have a program in Community 18, and our attempt to
Ghana,
in Ghana,
Community 18, Tema, Ghana.
Ghana, yeah. And we've been there since 2011. We've been 15 years. And I tell you, the stigma is still there. The kids didn't do anything wrong. They're loved by God. Don't beat the demon out of them. You, we have a responsibility. So if you're hearing me, what are you doing with what God has given you? How are you using your resources? Yeah, we love our coaches and we love our Louis Vuittons and we love our, but how are we changing the world? How are we changing the world? And so I know that God is giving me grace upon grace upon grace, and I'm a mess. I don't think I've cried this much in so long. But as you open that door, I'm reminded of why God has me on this journey. And it's, yeah, yeah, just give me a minute.
It's okay. Oh, yes, 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 yes. Thank you all for joining. Thank you all for joining. G-Force will be back. And if you have any question or comments, this is real. You
Yeah, I
cannot be
think you
dealing with
you
it
you do
yourself.
you do an amazing job of bringing the onions out for real.
Well,
So,
we all know someone who you are either carrying that caregiving or you know someone. So this is a very, very important topic, and we know how autistic children are treated in Ghana, here and elsewhere. So whatever we can do in our power to let them know that they are loved, they did nothing wrong, they did nothing wrong, and they also belong. So Dr. Genevieve, back to you.
yeah, so and I think I asked the Holy Spirit this morning, what are we going to talk about? And you had your questions, but I believe that this message is for somebody who is watching. We exist to support you. You're not alone, you're not an island. And every state, if you're in the US, has programs, they have activities. There's something called an individualized education planning. So for those who are listening, what is autism and what it is that?
Yeah.
Autism is a neurobiological disorder. We say neurobiological because we don't fully understand what's going on with it, but we do know this. There is something along the journey that stops the growth.
Mm.
We believe, so I personally believe there's environmental factors. There's myths about, or there's controversy about vaccines and the causality and the relationships. I just know that in some individuals, they're immunological fragile. So at the point where we're vaccinating and giving 10, 18, 16 vaccines in one syringe, if they're sick at the point, that's what happened with Nick. He had a high fever. He had a cold, and they gave him the varicella vaccine. And a week afterwards, he had high fevers for a week. Fevers at 105, 104. I mean, later he ended up having seizures. I mean, like, so what we don't know is, are some individuals genetically fragile? Or is there an environmental factors that affect how the body responds to certain medicines or whatever you give them? So we don't have a full understanding, but we do know that it's a complex issue, which is why we need divine intervention. So I call it divine intervention, divine intercession. We need to be praying for breakthroughs, for scientific breakthrough. We need to be praying for our communities to support those who are on the journey. We need to pay attention so when the child is not developing at the milestone that it should, we're engaging them. So the key thing is an engagement. So what it is that you don't give them screens, you don't leave them sitting and watching TV. What it is that you
Mm.
bring them outside, you get them out there playing, doing things that will jumpstart the brain faster, get them moving, activity, the motor. So a lot of times they have issues with their sensory. You think about the senses. The senses are not all functioning the way it should. That's when they need occupational therapy. So if your child is developing and there's delays, what I need you to do is you need to seek the doctor and ask them for three things: occupational therapy, evaluation, whether they give it to you or not, ask for it anyway, speech communication evaluation. Sometimes you need a physical therapy evaluation, and then you're also going to need a behavioral evaluation. These are key because they tell us what's happening at that level. That's what we call therapies. Those will give you the therapy that will get the child connectional back. So we need to be able to provide intensive stuff to get them going. That's what we need. So you need speech therapy, not in a bad way. My daughter, older one who is neurotypical, was saying to me, I've always given her tutors. She's lagging behind in math. I go get a tutor. Science, I get a tutor. My son needed somebody to help him communication. I get him a speech therapist. So I'm always getting support. So we exist to get support. The label is so that you can get support. The label is not for you to just be like, oh my God, I don't want to put a label. But if you don't, you're not going to get the help you
Yeah.
need.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So that is what we want to tell people right there from this whole autism advocacy thing is I need you to make up your mind
Mm-hmm.
that you live and exist to support others.
Mm. Mm.
That is what we live to do, is to support others. And you could support them financially. You can support them by being a respite. Show up and say, I want to come by and watch your child so you can go
Mm.
grocery shopping.
Yeah. Yeah.
I will come along with you to the grocery shop. Maybe I'll sit in the car while you ran into the
Mm.
shop.
Mm. Mm.
You want to know how you can support? So you live to support. That's why I say my goal exists to support families. We
Yeah.
exist to say, can I walk with you? Can I help you process? Do you
Yeah.
know there's something called going supporting support? In the United States, we have laws that ensures that up to the age of 21, your child can get supports. Now, when they turn 21, the school bus stops coming.
Mm.
Miss Marian, that's a whole separate conversation. I can go, it's part two. That's another level. That's
Mm.
another pivot. It's another pain point.
Wow.
It, you need, so the families out there, our community, and it's also worse when they're illegal immigrant, quote unquote, because they don't have access. It almost becomes like you're back home in Ghana, though, because back
Oh.
home,
Mm. Mm.
back
Mm.
home,
Mm.
the program is there, but they don't allow you. So that's
Mm.
where you need programs like Haven International. So you contact us, havenint.org. Madam Jennifer is the head of the school. I mean, she's the head of the program. She's the co-founder. She runs the program there. I just get to be support. We just give the vision. She runs it. We have a head of school. They do that stuff from age of 3 all the way to the adult, vocational. I mean, go check it out.
Yeah.
So that's why I said I cry because I'm like, the harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. Lord, send a harvest.
Yeah.
It's massive,
Mm.
and the journey continues. And that's why I'm sharing because I know there's somebody out there right now who is overwhelmed. And some people have to give their careers to stay home with their kids because there's no other way. Abuse become prevalent because the stress is so much. The layer is layered upon layer upon layer. And I can start to talk about the church not making room for the families. Okay, look around in your church. How many families out there come to church? Where are they? They're home. How are we making room for them? Do we have a special needs ministry? Are we visiting with them? To whom much is given, much is expected. And so that is why this is pain that turns into passion. And until he takes me into eternity, I will be out there talking, sharing. I mean, I have layers of stories, and I know we've gone way past the time.
We have, but this is good stuff. But I still need you to explain the spectrum.
Spectrum.
Yeah.
The spectrum is such that you have individuals that are what we now describe as profound. Now they're talking about level 1, level 2, level 3 autism. That's what people use now as a terminology. What that means is that you can have people who really they talk, they have a job, they do all kind of things. Let's name it. Elon Musk is on the spectrum. If you want to know one, Elon Musk is one. I'll probably he can sue me anyway. I don't have money for him to sue. He has more money than he does. He is. I mean, the social interaction is awkward. The things you say, yeah. Steve Jobs. Some of the most brilliant people are their work, they do things, but the point of the matter is that there's a level of where they, so now the terminology people use is neurodiversity, neurodivergent, meaning that the way that they process information, the way they engage, it's different, right? So we are in all one way or the other, we all have idiosyncrasies, things that we do that makes us weird, quote unquote weird. So that's what makes it. So the point of the matter is that you have people at all levels of engagement, interaction. And so then you have the profound people, individuals that, maybe loss of language, they really cannot communicate, they can't verbalize. Behavioral is up the wazoo. A lot going on with them. And then you have people who are in the middle. And some people, maybe they were developmentally delayed, because that's the terminology a lot of times is used, right? When they're developmentally delayed, they don't necessarily have a label per se, but they will lose the label of developmental delay because now they catch up. So when they're developmental delay, depending on who's you're talking to, may say they're on a spectrum. So that's why I'm just saying that the label is just so that we can make sure you get to the sources of resource. You get the supports that's necessary. And in the United States, at least, these supports are available. I will say it depends on what town you live in. At least in New Jersey, I say your zip code matters.
Mm-hmm.
You can go get an apartment in a nice zip code. You will be entitled to resources. 100%.
This is so complex, I'm telling you. Well, thank you for sharing. I see more and more comments. There's a comment about how are you using resource? Oh, how are you using resources to change the world? Okay, that's a comment. Then there's a comment. Mary, you know my story with our late son Jeremy. God bless his soul. I know Jeremy and he's in heaven now. Sis, I feel you and understand you perfectly because I walked that journey. But for 7 years, I'm sorry, I have to move closer. 7 years of an innocent child. Yeah, something like God made my husband and I to experience and can speak to it. Something like that. Advocating, yes, the church, they can run you out. One of the things that you have said is live, we live and exist to support others, right? And I think that is very profound. And I'm speaking to especially immigrants who may not have family, the family support. We just have us. How can we support each other? I presume you have walked the walk. It will be difficult for the mother or father to come asking for help. So how can you extend a hand? Maybe you can give an example of how.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful. I think the church community is that. So, or even sometimes people belong to clubs
Yeah.
or your group, your school year group, any platform. Maybe I'll put it that way. Any platform that are created that you're part of, within that platform, there's somebody that has a need. Post in the platform. Do you have a need or you have a child that needs support? I will challenge somebody, you will find it. And then we decide and said, let's make sure we support our brother and our sister. And you can ask the question, how can we support you? So for me, we moved to Jersey. We didn't have anybody. The church became our family. My church family is amazing. Because of us, we started a special needs ministry.
Yeah.
So that is why I made that comment because we're like, we want families to come to church. We want them to know that. And interesting enough, almost, at least in my church, we had special ed teachers who attend the church. We have therapists, we have speech therapists, we have OT. They're there. So we leverage that and we make that part of the community. So if we're an immigrant, and I talked about me being at 810 West Grace, if I was back then, in the building is a community. We get together in the parties. We go to funerals, we go to birthday, we go to weddings, we do all these things. Why can't we create that same support so our brother and sister is not isolated? Because it's a very isolative world and it's not one that people talk about. We don't ask about it because we don't know what to say. It's like almost when somebody dies, funeral, you just don't know what quite. We go to the funeral, we do all those things, and afterwards it's quiet.
Mm.
Same thing. So I would say that that's one of the ways that we can create community. That is so, and I think maybe that's what, because I was asking the Holy Spirit, like, what's the purpose of this particular conversation today? And I'll give a shout out to Belinda. Belinda, it's all your fault. You wanted to make me cry today. You did it. You achieved your objective. Belinda was my sister, you listened to last month, go check it out. Really
Yes.
powerful story as well too. So I was the person that was fighting the nurses on her behalf when she was in pain because at the time I was doing pain management too. So but I think the important point and Miss Marian, what you're doing is really reminding people that we, even if you feel like you're an immigrant, you just came and you don't have anybody, you do. Your yearbook groups, your church community, go to the pastor, ask. And sometimes, unfortunately, maybe in our community, the church you go to may not have the creativity to do it. For me, we just say, how could we support? And that's how we started. So for with the, first ladies listening, that's why you're a mother of the church. You're the mother to these children too. And help us to be able to establish something that will ensure that people don't feel isolated. And if you're a special ed teacher, you know that parent that you see that something's going on with your child and you really want to tell them, but you know the parent is not ready to hear it,
Mm.
just
Mm.
befriend the child. The parent is going to start to notice how connectional you are to their child. And when the day that they're like not sure, they will call you. You just give them your number, say, hey, if you ever need, strategies, ideas. I don't tell them let's give labels. I just say, hey, if you get to the place where you want ideas or ways to connect with your child or do things, let me know. That's what you say to them because they don't want labels. They think you're ready to, you accept the label. That means that you want that on your child. And I know I have people who avoid me like a plague. And guess what, Miss Marion? When the rubber hits the road, they call because they get to a place where the child can't stay in school any longer, quote unquote. You know what happens there? The school calls them to come pick up their child from school. In America, that's actually legal, by the way. I can get into a whole conversation about that too. And that's when you say, no, I know my law. I know the law. I know my rights. IDEA, Google it. That's the IDEA law. They're supposed to provide supports and services. So don't let that be a thing. So,
Okay. This
and
has
landed the
been
plane.
heavy. Thank you, Dr. G, Dr. Genevieve G Force. You are a force to reckon with. Now, just at the top, you said people are carrying so many things.
Yeah.
So just give us a peek of what your day is like. You're a mother of three. You worked throughout this, you've been
Yeah.
on this journey and you've been a professional since you now have a school. What is a day like? And, a few tips on how people can balance. It's a
Balance.
very fine balancing act that we all have to
Yeah.
do.
I think the most important thing is, I mean, spirituality is very important. I'm a woman of faith and I don't play with that, my journey. I think it's important to prioritize what's important to you. Also know that you can't do it all. You can't always have a clean home when your kids are growing. They will draw on your walls. It's okay. Um, so make sure you put on the oxygen mask for yourself before you try to save the world, right? So for me, the most important thing has always been that my children, my family knows that they are most important to me. The job is secondary. Ministry is important, but my church community also know that other things are more important. And when things are hard, I let them know I'm not going to be available for this period of time because of X, Y, and Z. So I'm a communicator. I tell people in advance. I'll be clear to say to you, unfortunately, I won't be able to attend this thing because
Mm.
I won't dodge you. I won't say, oh, no, I'm just letting you know. I'm keeping it real. I won't be able to be in attendance. I'm thinking about you. I'm praying all is well. Put it out there. Then people will honor that because they know you're walking a journey. So for me, that's how we've done it.
Mm.
I've also been very vocal with my children about our journey. I tell them, this is our life. We make no excuses about it. And so they know. We walk together, we journey together. My children are always, I mean, the girls, everybody, we're always traveling together. When Nick couldn't go to certain things because it's overwhelming for him. And that's really what that painful part for me is as we finish, is that I want everybody to be we all want to be together all the time. But sometimes certain environments is very hard for him. So in as much as I want him there, he's not comfortable. He doesn't want to go. What am I going to force him? So it's learning if your mother out there, father out there, give liberty. Give your children the room to be themselves, the room to grow. And that's what I've had to leverage. And my last point here is that I'm a firm believer in seasons. Ecclesiastes tell you it's a time to plant, right? And a time to harvest. There's going to be a time that you're going to be like, I need to sleep. And I do. I get my sleep. People say, how do you do it? I sleep. I get my rest and I keep it going. I know that resources are important. So I work so that I can continue to be a blessing, even to the organization myself. Donate to my own organization. Make sure that the resources are out there for families. So that's why I would take my own word of advice. I exist to be a support to others.
Yes. Oh, we are just about to land the plane. But I know there has to be a part two at some point. But there was a few things that you've said, and I have other questions, but I'm not going to ask them because I think you've answered them. Like, how has this really, I'm going to ask you two things. How has this really shaped you professionally and how you treat others at work and how you, and my second question, I don't want to forget this question. My second question is, there might be a number of people here who are not, they've had their children, right? But they may be in caregiving. They may have daycares. They may be doing children's church or, different community activities, even Girls and Boy Scouts. As I heard you speak, sometimes they are the ones who can even diagnose the problem before the parent or the doctor. Can you speak to that audience as well?
God, I love that question. And I get that all the time from caregivers is how do we tell a parent who we're seeing some signs and they're not able to? So that was why I made the statement earlier that we, somebody had to hint me the same way and say, you may want to see a neurologist. And I was like, okay, because they're like, well, we just want to make sure that, as things are developing, we're supporting them 100%. And if there's any reason beyond just the medical that, or if there's maybe a medical reason that we don't know about, that we can figure that out. So have that language because you're not trying to give label. They're not trying to hear that at all. Who wants that? Who who really wants to know I'm gonna walk a hard journey? This is a hard journey. It's hard. You have to be a doctor, you have to be a nurse, you have to be all of that. So, but what I say to caregivers, I love my caregivers. I love my therapists. I love them because some of them become your best friend. We I go to them, they're seeing the progress, they're seeing the growth. So, caregivers out there, teachers out there, daycare, God bless you. Thank you for choosing this profession that you are in. You are helping to shape a child's life. I will say to you, please, please, please continue to intercede, continue to intervene, pray for the child, give them the best. Let the mom or dad know the progress is celebrate each milestone. Let them know that each milestone matters. If the child is 8 and now they're potty trained, celebrate it like they just won a lottery. So God bless you for doing it and continue. Don't give up on speaking up and seeing it. So that would be what I would say to them because they're so needed. If you're a social worker, oh my God, I love my social workers. They connect us. They are like, I think I would have become a social worker if I've come in. God wanted me a different way. I pretend I am half of the time I'm talking to people. I'm like, yeah, do you know this resource? That's why I love resource. Whether it's for autism or not, if I find good information, I want everybody to know. Like, we're not gonna hide it, right? So that's the first question. The second question. This first question is, oh my God, professionally, I think resiliency has taught me. I go into places and I'm like, okay, there's nothing here. I'm a builder. If it ain't there, we're gonna figure it out. So even that's what led me to the job that I'm doing right now because we're starting it. We start up for a new site to bring phase 1 clinical trials to patients. So people who are basically at the end of the doctor has told you there's no more treatment for that cancer. That's what we do. We work with sponsors to bring new drugs that are coming into the market, and we do that. And my site, there is no pharmacy yet, so we had to build it. So God is like, okay, if it's a hard job, who can we find? I'm like, Lord, pick me, use me, choose me. I'll do it. Because guess what? You know the secret? He gives the vision, he'll give the provision.
Provision, that's right.
He will give
That's
you some supernatural wisdom.
yeah. Yeah. This is so good. It's a heavy topic, but you have educated us, you have enlightened us, you have challenged us. You live and exist to support others. Now, I will give you one last question, our closing question. Speak to the mother, the immigrant mother, immigrant father, auntie, grandma, who is just beginning this journey. But before you do that, I want to say thank you and thank you to all those who are watching right now and those who are going to watch the replay. If you have not subscribed, please subscribe to our channel, like, share it with someone who really needs to help to hear this message. All these sessions are to inform us, to inspire us, and to transform us. I really love, we live and exist to support others. And so let me see if there's any question here. There might be one or two questions. And then what about when the school tries to hint the parents, but they are in denial? I think that was a question. Then there's a shout out, even with all that is going on there from Belinda. You have always been there for me. Thank you for supporting me. Love you. Yeah, there's thank you, thank you, thank you. So answer this question and then give your final word to that mother, grandmother, auntie, teacher who is starting this journey, and then any other parting words, and
Yeah,
that'll be the
no,
last voice.
and like I said to you, Miss Marion, and I know that's what Belinda wanted me to come to this thing. When Miss Marion reached out to me, I'm like, which hat am I gonna wear? I wear
And
many hats.
hold on. So Belinda came last month. And if you haven't watched that episode, it's live on this very platform. Just go watch it.
Go watch it. Yeah,
That's
no.
all I'll say.
You know what? It's like, it's amazing. And God just, the turnaround kid, that's what I call her. And the blessing that she is. So she's godmother to my kids and vice versa. So for the parent out there with schools, it is a very tricky thing, right? You want your child to be neurotypical, meaning that they're growing up with everybody else. But every child is different. Some children need support early. Some children need support midstream, and some children need, or young adults need support later. It is so important to be open-minded. That's number one thing I would say. Be open-minded. We know in parts. The world is changing. Resources are coming. The things like ChatGPT can do for us, some of us had to spend hours preparing, right?
Mhm.
So that means that you have to be willing to learn and grow and don't get so defensive. We get defensive because we feel like somebody's going to judge us, that you're not enough, and so on. And so that's why we fight with teachers and don't fight the teachers. Now, it's always administrators that have limited resources, and so that's why they will cut short stuff like that. So it's important to be part of communities. It's part of to become a network. Join your Facebook groups. They're plenty. Join. That if you're not hearing anything I have to say, you're a parent out there, is who is in your tribe. I call it, I have a board of directors for Nicholas. People who have been strategically placed that God takes me away tomorrow. I'm not afraid to die because I'm preparing for when I'm not here. I That's what I'm saying. Live as if God is going to take you tomorrow or Jesus is coming back. If Jesus came back tomorrow, are you ready? So if you're listening to me out there, you better be ready because he's maybe coming back tomorrow. Anyway, get off that soapbox to say this. So that means that you are doing everything you can to ensure that your child has all the tools that they need. Partner with people in your community. If it's not in your community, go find a new community or create the community. I say if there's no box, create the box.
Mm.
If it didn't exist, create it. There's somebody out there who will partner with you. Just go do it. Be open and be open-minded. I want to give a shout out to my mother. She came, she lived with us and it was huge. So I won't take credit and say I did all this thing by myself. One thing that I was smart about is if I don't have it, I ask. And she came. So for the mothers and grandmothers out there, it is hard. If you can partner with your daughter, with your son, with your nephew, be there for them. Raising children is hard enough. Raising a child with on the spectrum is also hard. So be there for them. That's really, really, really crucial. That's why I said that I think the key part is community. And so our mantra is gateway to resources and to connections. And my parting word is really, he says, for I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you, not for harm. He will give you a future full of hope. And I started at the top of the hour. She got me good, right? I didn't expect the middle part. That's why I'm like, whoa. I came here on first class.
Yeah.
First
Yeah.
class, America.
Yes, yes.
I still feel like I'm walking a first class life.
Mm, mm.
I am because I know the Lord.
Yeah.
And I know that when push comes to shove, when everyone fails me, he will never fail me. He will never leave me. He will never forsake me. Because when the moment when I got that diagnosis, the word to me was, for I know the plans I have
Mm.
for you. And no eye has seen. I didn't even know I'll be on something like this from last month to this month. Yeah. I just knew I had to support Belinda. But I know that the God who made this conversation happen is achieving an outcome for me. And the plans is that somebody listening will know that God sees you. God knows your pain. And God will bring you through the pain. Because through the waters, you will not be overwhelmed. Through the fire, you will not be burned. You will become resilient, and your children will become resilient because of who you are.
Wow. Thank you. Nothing else from my end. Thank you. And I'm trying very hard to get your husband here next month. So, and it might be a husband and wife too, but thank you. We are leaving this place smarter than we came. We are leaving inspired, and we are also leaving with a challenge. We all can do better. We all can support. We all can lend a hand. So, Dr. Genevieve, thank you so much for
Thank you for
accepting
having
to be
me.
here.
Thank you. Thank
I,
you.
I have been I have been so inspired and encouraged, and I know there is something that I can do to help and we can do to support those on this journey. Thank you everyone for coming. We will see you again next week.
Thank you.